I welcome people to the ordinary meeting of Council for Wednesday 18th of December. Do we have any conflicts of interest? First of all, we'll start with the karakia.
Kia tuturu, ka whakamoa, kia tina, ue tāhine.
Thank you. Do we have any conflicts of interest? No conflicts of interest. Apologies. We've got an apology from Councillor Lennox. Somebody prepared to move. Thank you. Councillor Johnson, seconded Councillor Bowyer. All in favour? Thank you. We also have Councillor Helena online and apparently Iwi Joe online. There's no public forum, no late items, no confirmation of council minutes, no committee reports. So we go to reports for decision. Page 6, the water meeting charging approach hearings. And Karen, do you want to say anything at this stage or Steph?
I can introduce it here. So this report presents the submissions received on the consultation on the water meter charging approach. We received 166 submissions during the consultation period, which ran from 14th of November through to Friday the 13th of December. There has been an additional late submission which is included in the deliberations report. We have 3 submitters confirmed to speak today. One will attend via team and the other 2 are expected in person. Mr Knight has withdrawn his request to speak. So community feedback was support on a proposed charging approach which would transition to funding to urban water supply service by way of a 50% targeted service charge and 50% volume charge by the end of a 3-year transition period, and submitters were able to indicate their support for that proposed approach, an alternative approach, or retaining the status quo. And feedback was also support on 3 revision proposals relating to financial hardship and water leaks. Analysis of the submissions and staff advice is included in the deliberations report, and council will meet tomorrow to deliberate and make recommendations. So that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Steph? No questions? Okay, we'll get straight into it. Mark Durling. Mark, if you could just come up here. Mark, you've been here before, so I know you probably know the drill. You get 7 minutes to speak and we've got 3 minutes to ask you questions.
Thank you.
So we'll just leave it to you. Mark's submission is on page 36. I'm sure you've all read that. So over to you, Mark.
Thank you. Mr Mayor, councillors, ladies, gentlemen. I'll keep it fairly short. I don't think I need 7 minutes. I fully support the move to charging on a user-pay system. However, 2 things. I'd like to see a robust system in place to ensure that everybody has clean drinking water. I see that as a human right. And therefore, if people, for whatever reason, can't pay, I think we need to explore means of making sure that those people still have at least a limited supply of clean drinking water, either by means of flow restriction of a water supply or some other means. And I did look at the documentation, but I couldn't find any detail on that. So I hope that something like that would be considered. Other than that, I wonder why we're taking 3 years. I think when we first talked about installing water meters, the argument that was put forth was that we would therefore be able to quite easily tell if there are leaks in the system. And we know that there has, over the years, been many leaks on the system. So I would suggest that it is important that we move to using the water meters as intended sooner rather than later. I'd be tempted to suggest that if it was up to me, I'd probably say, well, why don't we run for 1 more year on the current system, but at the same time make sure that the metering system is transparent and available to the public for their own properties, so that they can learn during the first year, should I say, whether or not they have a leak or not. After that, I think we should be fully into the new system. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much, Mark. Questions for Mark? Thank you, Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mark. I just missed that last bit. So were you suggesting that we operate the meters for a year
Yes.
and see how it runs and see if people can learn the behaviours needed to maybe reduce water, but keep the current level as charging system that we have in place?
For the first year, I'm suggesting yes,
Yeah.
and then make sure that people realise that they are, if they have leaks, let's give them the time to fix those leaks rather than them saying, well, I didn't know I had a leak and all this sort of thing.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mark? No further questions. Thank you so much, Mark. It's,
I've got one more question.
sorry, Councillor Johnson.
Hey, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I've just got a question. Are you aware that you can look at your usage now if you've got a meter installed?
No, I'm not aware.
Yeah, so I think that's actually might answer part of Mark's question, because you can go out and look at your lift the Toby.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting, I'm sure I can lift the Toby. I want it in paper or on a PDF, you know what I mean? You should,
Oh, I understand.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It should be in the meter, it should be reported from the onset, I feel.
Communication, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know some people are checking their meters now to
Yeah.
see what, and to also see if they've got a leak, but they're
Yeah.
particularly conscientious, whereas most people
Yeah.
are not aware.
I think in our case, for argument's sake, and there'd be many houses like ours where the Toby is a fair distance from
Yeah.
our gate. So in our case, for instance, our Toby is in a private right-of-way, which, I mean, I have access to it, but I don't actually have a right-of-way over it. That just
Yeah.
happens to be where the Toby is. So to go down there is an 80-metre walk, and I'm lazy. So
So what you're suggesting in a way is like an amnesty period where people get familiar with their usage and their bills.
That's right.
And what they're doing, and then they can assess whether they've need to do anything
Do
prior
something
to
about it.
kicking in properly.
yes.
Yep.
And then quite aside from that, the idea of making sure that people who, for whatever financial hardship reason, aren't paying their bills, still have some water. I don't know what we're going to do with that. Once we've got metering, what happens with people who simply can't pay their bill? I'm not suggesting that this would be something that would affect the majority of us. I'm suggesting there'd be some people out there that I'd hope there's a system that doesn't cut their water off like electricity is cut off, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Of course. I'm not sure on that one actually, but thank you.
Okay.
Welcome, Joe. Sorry, I thought you were online, but that's okay. Any further questions for Mark? Yeah, Councillor Goodwin. Oh, we've got Councillor Helena up there.
It would be interesting to find out what the rules are for electricity, because people with a health problem, I don't think they're allowed to cut it off.
No.
So I would imagine there's been some work done on that. It would be interesting to trace that up.
That's right. Thank you.
Councillor Helena?
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for your consultation feedback, and thanks for attending today. The way I read the water meterings, there's going to be some people whose water is going to be cheaper than it is now, and some people who are going to receive higher prices for their water now. The people who are going to receive higher prices, from my understanding, are those that are probably the least likely to be able to pay for it, particularly if they go over the allocated amount. So I just wanted to pick up on your thoughts. Do you have any thoughts around how we might, issue water to those that might otherwise be denied water or can't afford to pay the excess that, over the regulated amounts? Have you put any thought into that? And if so, what are they? But if not, no problem.
Thank you, Councillor. I think in some jurisdictions, and I can't give a list as I'm sitting here, but I think in some jurisdictions there is a flow restriction device that is fitted to somebody's water supply, so that they effectively get a trickle supply, which will cover them for the basics if they are not being conscientious in either solving their leaks or paying their bills, I suppose. As I said before, I think water is unique in that it should be a basic human right to have clean drinking water, and I think we need to be cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Just to answer that question about the restrictors on the one area of water supply, the smallest restrictor you can put in is for 1,000 litres a day.
Right,
1,000 litres over 24 hours.
right.
And it's just a little washer, and as the demand gets bigger or the quantities needed, it's just extended.
That's still a fair bit of water, isn't it?
1,000 litres is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
We'll be deliberating tomorrow. So
Indeed. Thank
There
you,
we
Gary.
Thanks,
Thanks
Mark.
very much. Shall I let myself out? Is that all right?
yeah, and you just go for your life. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Okay, Carol.
Don't slam the door.
No, no.
Carol Wald. Carol's submission is on page 39. Welcome, Carol.
Good afternoon.
Carol, you get 7 minutes, up to 7 minutes to speak, and we get 3 minutes to ask you questions. So you just go for it.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I didn't actually have much of my submission, but I've read everything. So I do support your proposal, and I can see where it's going to be of benefit to ratepayers generally. So I just sort of ran through a few questions that people might be able to ask. So you're going to retain the $180 standard charge, which you're now charging as part of this. Is that going to be retained? So at the moment,
It's the rural one, isn't it?
well, at the moment, I believe the standard charge, we pay a fixed fee of 180, and then the rest, second part of the fee was the CV value. That's how I read it.
One of the difficulties about this deliberations situation, Carol, is that we're actually only here to ask questions. We're not actually meant to be answering.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But if you pose the questions you've got in the deliberations tomorrow, we can certainly take cognizance of those.
Oh, yes. Because I just had another question that ran in from that. So with regards, I read about the average use in the Wairarapa being higher than other areas, and you've actually put in I think it's 600 and something litres per day, which is based on the Wairarapa average, and that's what we're working towards over the 3 years. But beyond that, was the council looking to reduce the water allocations to match, what the rest of the country's average is running at, i.e. put more restrictions on the residents.
Do you want us to answer that?
Well, that'll be something that we will make
Yeah.
sure gets answered.
No,
We're taking notes here at the moment.
You already know what it is. Drops.
This is not time to make comments. Yeah, Carol, yeah.
And sort of matched in what one of the last speakers were saying, but who is going to be charged for the water? Is it the ratepayer or the actual tenants of the houses? Because
I know that question is definitely going to be raised.
yeah, hmm
Yeah.
and then because people with multiple tenants, of course. But that may be that you have a water meter charge on each rates bill if it's one rates bill for multiple tenants.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that one definitely is coming up.
How do you think, this is for a business question, so businesses with high water usage who are obviously going to be paying a lot more, how do you think they would take that in this current business? Because, take industrial rates, I know have gone up an awful lot in the last rating revaluation, and if some of those people are high water users, it's just an extra burden on the businesses.
Yeah. That's another one, Carol. You've actually picking up questions that are good questions. They're going to be definitely raised, these ones. Yeah, I've got
Yeah.
a list here that is taken into account, yeah.
And I just say that I do agree with charging for water usage as opposed to it being based on the CV, because it's not necessarily that was a better way to do it. Will a rate per cubic metre change or be reviewed? I guess it's not going to stay the same all the time, but how often will that be reviewed, the rate per cubic metre of water?
That can be answered because it's in the consultation document. Okay. It says in the consultation document that it will be reviewed annually.
Mm-hmm. So there's no, yeah, okay. And sort of related to the previous person, do you have stats for high water usage? And if so, have you been contacting those people who are high water users?
Yep.
So that anyone that hasn't been contacted, you would assume is
Same with,
moderate.
can I answer that? 'Cause that's-
Yeah, that is part of the
yes, and we have a list of high uses that necessarily shouldn't be. So we're hoping to identify what the problem is prior to. Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. I have been thinking about the rates relief for low-income users or with larger households, and I just wondered how many people that would actually affect, because I would imagine it would be very few households, because I guess most low-income people by default would, on average, would have a lower water use. It just depends on what habits people have and whether they have fixed their leases. But so I just wonder if there's that many households that would be classed as high water users on a lower income. That's basically what I have.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes.
As I say, you asked a number of questions there which are really pertinent, and they will be part of the deliberations. But if you any questions people have got for Carol? Thank you, Carol. Thank you,
Okay.
Heads, and thanks for the questions, because they are important.
Yes.
Does someone get back to Carol on those questions once after tomorrow?
Well, we can get back to you on those questions, Carol, and if you listen in tomorrow, come along tomorrow for the deliberations, you will hear the discussion anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So thanks very much
Good.
for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay. Yeah.
So are you sometimes when we go through the submission process, people do get a vaguely individualised response to the queries that are used to. So I just wonder, so it will be a generic response that includes the questions. Is that right?
So the process is that we don't provide individualised responses. This is a hearing where people are presenting us with their views rather than asking questions of council. And so we would not, through a hearings process, respond individually, apart from if the matters are raised during discussion tomorrow at the deliberations and then a resolution to
That's what
those
I'm
issues.
referring to.
Yeah.
So those questions that Gary's noted, or Harriet's noted, they will be included in our deliberative response.
Yes, they will be.
Which will be available to everyone.
Well, it'll be on live stream.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
If those matters are brought up tomorrow by councillors, they're not part of the report.
yeah.
I just know from talking to some councillors already that those questions are going to be raised. There's a lot more. Yeah. Okay, we're now meant to have online. Rava, I might be a little early, are we? 3 minutes maybe. marker, page 41. It's due in a couple of months, so if we just hang on.
Can I ask a question then? Karen, if we've got some general questions that need clarifying from reading this, when can I direct those?
If you can give us a heads up of what those are, we can try and answer those for you for tomorrow during deliberations.
Okay, can I meet with you after this then? Sure. Great, thank you. Just saves time and then it's clearer for me and what I can ask and need to ask and what I don't.
If you can circulate them to all the councillors.
Sure.
Circular economy.
There's no sign of Praveen area.
Not to it.
I was just wondering, Harry, if we could turn the live streaming off for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we can...
Are you seeking an adjournment, Chair, to adjourn?
Aye.
Would you like to adjourn?
Yeah, if we could seek an adjournment for 2 or 3 minutes so that we can do whatever, rather than just wait, because I mean the public are just sliding back in between.
We can adjourn.
To do the 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.